Derby, one of the major centres of the East Midlands. Cathedral city during the Middle Ages. Industrial powerhouse during the 19th century. But long before all that, like many places in Britain, a much earlier settlement stood. Nearly 2,000 years ago, in what is now a quiet suburb by the banks of the River Derwent, this was a centre of the Romans. Still today, under gardens, streets and public parks, the evidence of that imperial past can be seen. And ever since the days of antiquarian William Stukeley in the 1700s, it has been dug. Today, it is still being investigated. This is Derventio. The name itself may be a Celtic one, stemming from oak trees and the river that still runs by today. The Romans named many places Derventio, in fact, just as there are many River Derwents. But this one, at the suburb of Little Chester, was arguably the most important of the lot. Near the junctions of a number of major arteries of the Roman road network, as well as an important river crossing linking the southwest of Britannia to the north. Vast, multi-ringed defences were constructed around a fortified settlement in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. But like many Roman building projects, by the 2nd century, as the threat from the rebellious Britons subsided, Derventio transformed into a civilian settlement, a vicus. By that time, as the Roman Empire flourished, archaeology shows that this was a busy place. Spilling out of the walls of Little Chester, houses and buildings sprawled along Ricknield Street. Pottery kilns and metalworking industries appearing in the area. Cemeteries where inhabitants were laid to rest, be they traders, craftspeople, or even veterans of the Roman army. By the time Derby became an Anglo-Saxon and Viking burh during the 10th century, the visible remains of Derventio had largely disappeared. Though by the time of Stukeley in the 18th century, he was still able to describe walls, gravel streets, wells and foundations in the fields around Little Chester, providing an invaluable record of the site before modern archaeology and before large-scale industrial activity would transform the landscape yet more. The first relatively modern dig was carried out under Charles Sherwin in 1926. Though considered primitive by today's standards, a large corpus of material was retrieved and placed into Derby Museum. Throughout the 60s, 70s and 80s, and in the last 2 decades, more digs followed. And now, they are starting again. Today, most of Derventio still lies buried beneath terraced houses and gardens. But on playing fields nearby, along the edges of Ricknield Street, archaeology can be carried out. When I heard that digs were starting up again in 2025 under York Archaeology, I just had to go and have a look for myself.
3 minutes, mate.
So what have we found? It's the last day of the dig.
Right, so what we're supposed to have been finding was evidence of any settlement in this area. So the Roman settlement probably expanded from Ricknield Street, which is just beyond us in the fields over here, And this is an expanse of settlement that we've only picked up a couple of times from when we've done some excavations in 2016, when we've been putting a flood defence in and around these fields. But before we got involved in 2016, a trench was dug just outside of our Harris fencing, and in that trench, done by Oxford Archaeology in 2013, they found some kind of cobbled surface, and it seemed to have a curb and also a drain a part of it. So that's why we were clear that it was likely Roman, but what we didn't understand was its purpose. Is it a road that's leading into the settlements? Is it built quite early on? Is this a planned settlement where they're building smaller roads off the main road of Ricknield Street so that people can then develop this area quite quickly? Or is this a site of organic growth where they're growing over hundreds of years rather than just a few decades? So the aim was to try and find that surface. Now, I couldn't overlap the trench because unfortunately the trench is now within a football pitch, and apparently they want to keep their football pitches looking quite nice. So I've had to basically move the trench about 4 metres away from that original dig, and we've now been dropping through topsoil, subsoil, a huge amount of 20th century dump, including bottles, glass and industrial waste. But we finally got down onto another clay layer which we're just starting to remove, and we have started to actually uncover the remains of some kind of surface. This surface is full of larger stones.
So here is the coin.
So we've also found another little coin here. So you can probably just about see that. You've got the head of the emperor there on one side, and then if we flip it over, oh, that's really hard to see, isn't it, on the back?
It had like a proper face on it.
We might have to have a little look at that under a microscope and have it a bit of a clean, but we've got some kind of marks on it. Not quite sure. We'll have to have a little look at that. But yeah, if we turn that around like that,
Oh yeah,
there's the head of the emperor. So lay it flat. You see, just his little eye, didn't for his eye.
That's good.
That's probably a better. There you go.
Nice one.
Fab. But that's just come out from above this stone surface that's starting to come up. So you can just sort of see it here. We've got some very large stone slabs surrounded by pebbles. Now this is why I'm saying that it might not necessarily be in situ, because it seems like these larger stone blocks may have been a part of some kind of a structure. Maybe the cobbles were a part of a surface, and at some point something has been destroyed and they've been knocked down and then started to amalgamate in this layer. So is it actually a demolition layer, or is it actually in situ structure? And that is now the big question that we'll have to wait until we come back, because unfortunately this is our last day. But at the moment it's looking like, to me, you have to be a little bit pessimistic in this job. It's looking like to me that we've had a bit of a cobbled surface, and the structures maybe surrounding it or on top of it have been then knocked down and are covering it over. That's fine, because obviously we know that then the structures are Roman, but it's just, when has that happened? Have they fell down gradually? So are we talking into the Anglo-Saxon period? And therefore there might be a little bit of contamination with that time period, which again is fine because it's all a part of the story. Is it even later, into the later medieval period? Very unlikely, because this site would have been maintained and used over a number of centuries. We know that because in the Little Chester defended settlement we have actually found skeletons dating from the 9th and 10th centuries. So we know that there were still people around in this area that late on, after the Romans had left basically. Or is it in situ, and we have got some kind of informal surface that may have been a lot deeper, so those stones that are standing proud wouldn't have actually been standing proud, but would have actually been surrounded by more cobbling, making quite a deep and thick surface. We don't know. We'll have to find out maybe next year now.
The mystery.
The mystery continues.
So, hoping for next year?
Hoping to come back next year, hoping that the plan is, if we're allowed to, we're going to cover it over with a textile, backfill it with a machine, And then next year we basically reopen it with a machine, peel back the textile and basically continue from this exact spot. So we won't fill it in without putting a cover over the top of it, because filling it in without that cover will just make revealing it much, much harder. But if we put like a bit of a Taram style textile over the top of it, we can just peel it off and there we go, there we have it, we can continue straight away.
There we go. Well, thanks, Laura.
That's all right, anytime. So the clay is likely to be flood layers. If anybody has visited the site in between those flood events, maybe laid down a very quick temporary surface.
Okay.
For a bit of hard standing for sheep and cattle, for example, just something really makeshift, really temporary, and then years of flooding cover that over. That's why you have to take it down in spits, because then you can see that those changes in events going through the clay, because the clay is always going to look the same, because the flooding is always going to be the same. It's always going to be the same deposits being brought up, which is why the clay looks pretty similar for about 20 to 30 centimetres before you hit this really dark silty material over the top of the surface thing that we've got coming up here now. So all this clay is likely to be alluvial, basically, flood deposits.
So it's all coming off the river?
Yeah, more
Sort
than
of.
likely. And obviously it still continues to this day with the flooding that we still get in this area. It's just that obviously it's flooding onto playing fields now, which is topsoil, and we've got all of this 20th century rubbish in between, so it's not necessarily depositing in the same way. But over thousands of years, because we are talking thousands of years, so as the Romans are almost 2,000 years ago now, that over those thousands of years those deposits have built up gradually over time and masked any form of structure or surface that's been created. And that's what we're starting to find. It might be that the silty clay that they're digging through right now, this blacky layer, is actually is another one of those sort of flood events. It might contain more silt because of what the fields were being used for at the time. And that's why it's quite silty. Maybe they were quite loose because they're ploughed, and obviously all that silt is being washed in and covering these remains. Is that why this particular deposit is quite silty and quite black? Possibly, who knows? And that's some of the questions we're going to be asking ourselves whilst we're doing our report writing, basically.
So you're writing the report now?
I hope so, because if I'm not, it would mean I have to go out digging in the winter, and I don't really fancy doing that.
Yeah.
Fair weather archaeologist now.
I don't blame you.
Today, I won't go down any further there, Middle. Okay.
It's the same stuff.
Don't
You can't stop it there, keep going!
shut up, you.
Keep going!
You can tell it's getting towards the end of this.
Yeah.
So we've got a little Roman silver denarius here, and it's a little bit grotty, but you still can just about see the emperor on that side. And then on this side, some kind of figure that's holding up an arm. And on that basis, we just had a little look through our coin book, and we've stumbled upon this one. This is Gordian III. So this is Diana holding a torch, which could well be what we have on the back here. And then we have the emperor on the front. Again, it's a little bit grotty, so you can't quite make him out. But this seems like the closest match that we have. We will get our specialists to obviously observe this properly, give it a bit of a clean. But at the moment, it's potentially early 3rd century, to 238 to 244 AD. Like I say, we will have our specialists look at this and get a better understanding of it, but so far so good.
That's really
Quite
interesting.
nice.
That's just before the crisis of the 3rd century and all that.
Exactly, yes.
So things are just starting to go wrong.
Things are, well, yes,
They've already
exactly.
Gone wrong, haven't they, really? They've already gone wrong at that point.
So yeah, that was found only yesterday on top of a bit of a cobbled surface. I'm going to hesitate to say it's a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but it is looking quite interesting down there. We're finding very large pieces of structural stone, maybe from some kind of a surface, alongside pebbles, but it is quite uneven. So Is it a Roman layer that's been disturbed, a Roman structure that's been disturbed in a later time period? Because we have, let's be honest, been finding a mixture of pottery ages, so Roman, medieval, into the post-medieval, up until quite recently. So do we have a disturbed deposit from the Romano-British period, or is it actually still in situ? We can't be certain. Unfortunately, it is our last day, so we might not actually be able to uncover the truth until maybe we can come back next year. It all just depends on the council basically letting us back on again. We've also had a few other interesting finds, if you want me to carry on.
Carry on, by all means.
I will carry on.
We have to.
It might be better in the sunlight actually to see some of these, because the sun has just made a bit of an appearance. If I just pop them on that chair, look. There we go. So let's start off with those, I think. So if you want to get a bit closer, then you can see them a bit better. But we have had a number of other small coins. So here we have likely a radiate. So you can just see that there. It's a little bit grotty again. You can't quite see who's on it. We're going to again have to have our specialists look at these kind of pieces, just because there's no way we can tell just here and now exactly how old they are. But we definitely know it is Roman. There is a bit of a weight to it. So you can feel that if you ever do pick up a Roman coin, quite easy to determine if it's Roman or medieval, for example. The medieval Hammond coins are really flat, really thin. So this is clearly something with more of an age to it. So I'll just pop that back, mainly because it's a little bit windy and I don't want them to blow away. We've also got another little coin in there. We think we might have an idea of who that is. It might be Constantine on it. But again, it's quite grotty, so we're not going to be able to tell until we actually get it to the specialists to have a look at that one.
Grotty being the official term.
Grotty being the official term, although I'm not allowed to put it in a report. Not what I'm allowed to use in a report. But one of the nicer, smaller finds that we've had out are these. So these we think are hobnails from the boots of Roman soldiers, passing merchants, that kind of thing. Anybody who might have needed a bit of grip to their boots, but mostly Roman soldiers. So we've got one there, and we've had a couple more just in these bags here as well. This one's a little bit bigger, so it might not necessarily be a hobnail off a boot, but it might be a bit of a tack being used in building works. But this one for sure is definitely another hobnail. So I can show you this one as well. Tiny little nails that would have gone into the soles of the boot. So they're quite nice as well. Really tiny, only the size of maybe a cross of a 10-pence piece across, something like that, maybe even a bit smaller than that.
That's amazing. So who would be wearing these types of boots?
So this could be Roman soldiers. When we've done excavations previously on Roman forts, especially in Derby, so Strutt's Park is another fort nearby from about 50 to about 80 AD. We uncovered the internal cobbled surface, and in between all those cobbles there were a number of these hobnails that had obviously come off the soles of the boots and just got stuck in between the cobbles as the Roman soldiers were marching up and down the internal floor of the fort, which was quite exciting. So we had a lot of those when we were digging up there, and so that's quite a nice little find, especially if we're not calling it a fort, not allowed to say the F word, because Little Chester, Derventio, is classed as a defended settlement because we've not had any evidence, true evidence of a military presence on the site. We don't think they were staying there as they would do in a fort, so we can't say for sure that it's a fort, even though the defences surrounding Little Chester are so impressive. You're talking triple ditches and a wall cutting through an earlier earthen rampart, so a lot of heavy manual work has been done to create those defences. It's just that we can't say for certain if the military stayed in there at any point. They may have been involved with doing the heavy works to create the defences, but we haven't got any evidence from them staying there, that's all.
Interesting, so they may have built the fort and left.
Oh, he said the F word.
Oh.
It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard.
They may have built
Yeah,
the
they
defended
may
settlement.
have built the defended settlement, Maybe it was being used for more economic purposes, maybe it's being used as a storage facility for the Roman army. They are actually storing their goods there. Could even be things like for lead ingots. But whatever it is, that site clearly had a military interest to start with, because who else is going to build such large defences if they're not going to stay there?
Yeah.
One last little object to show you, which is quite nice, is this little very strange bronze object. So it looks like a spoon, but it's got a little hook on it, but it also isn't deep enough to be a spoon. So I don't know if you can just see that against that white background there. Can you see? It's not deep like a spoon, but it's the shape of a spoon. But what it could be is that that's actually where you hold it, like that. So actually the purpose of the object is actually this pointy end here and not this bit. So is this actually something like, somebody suggested a toothpick?
I was going to say toothpick.
Is it a toothpick? What we are going to say is it's likely to be a part of the grooming kits that were big with the Romans. The Romans like to be very clean. They always kept a personal kit with them of nail pickers, hair pluckers, ear scoops. So is this something to do with that set? Again, we will get our specialists to have a look, and in our report they will come up with some kind of interpretation on that. There you go.
Amazing.
Nice one.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh,
Hairpin.
possible. Or maybe some kind of cloth, maybe, but yeah, maybe a hairpin.
Interesting.
So that line there, oh, yeah. Is it hollow?
I feel hollow.
No, that's lovely.
Do you think it could be for like boots, like Roman boots? Because they found like a
Too long.
nail for it.
Oh no, it's too long. It's quite fine. So it might be hair. It might
I think
be
Boots
some
is
kind
quite a
of
modern chemist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say something.
Sandals.
With that, we'll be
There we go.
Unfortunately, it may have been a stone.
I had a fantastic time digging at Derventio last summer. I was there for a week. I got to do pretty much every element of archaeology that you can do on a site like that. And though we only got down to the Roman layers at the end of the 3-week period, I did find a bit of local pottery, local Derbyshire ware, hard ceramics produced in this region in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, which was amazing. So thanks to York Archaeology for having me, the leader of the dig, Laura Parker, for chatting to us on here, and everyone else who took part in the dig. Archaeology is largely done by volunteers, so thanks to everyone for putting the time in. If anyone out there has a dig going on in Britain, be it amateur, commercial or academic, and they'd like a similar video made to this one, then let me know. I'd love to come by and chat to you all and visit your dig. That's all from me. Keep digging, and I'll see you next time.